before all this reality existed, and the whole expansion of the material universe and everything, before all of that, we were also one. So
Exactly what
there's a there's a duality here. There's we were one. We were one thing. So
we were
if you
one thing in a sense, kind of how the Eastern religions are looking at it. We're like one without any thoughts, without any connections. We're just one mush of light together.
Yeah, at that point you can say all of us come from one point of singularity. At that point, we are all one. But are we at all? At that point, is there anyone who senses what we are at
We
that
are one,
point?
but nobody can feel it. Nobody
Exactly.
experiences
So you're not supposed to go back to that singularity and try to eliminate, avoid, restrict whatever your ego shows you, avoid the judgments you have on reality, just refrain from, everything, and just try to meditate and go back to that singularity. No, you need to go forward into a new level of that singularity, which you can call a conscious singularity. That's where we're moving. So nature, this whole expansion and individuation of the different levels of nature, still vegetative, animate, and humans, and 8 billion peoples now, and left and right, and all the differences that we have between us, and all the stuff and the chaos of 2020, and whatever you want to look at, all that stuff is moving. It's an expansion that had to happen so that we can once again move towards, as if you will, a contraction, move to a oneness. But this time we'll move there being fully consciously evolved beings. We're going to consciously attain the singularity, and that's point of singularity where we're all one. We are supposed to use our differences to discover nature's governing force. We're supposed to, the reason we have differences is that nature creates these individualities, these heightened differences, in order to create a more complex being. And that higher, more complex, more advanced being is us, connected in a way that we can't yet understand. But if we're trying to hate to just tolerate each other, then we're not working with that. We're not trying to achieve that. And if we just try to kill each other, then of course we're not trying to achieve that. So
so we
there, I don't know, man. It's a
we
change
we
of
have we
consciousness that needs
the
to
total
happen
change of
here. Yeah.
consciousness. We have the ability right now, through a change of consciousness, to speed up time. Alternatively, we can try and tolerate people who are totally different than us, who have totally different worldviews than us, and we say fine, and we can get along with them until something happens that we can't, and we end up fighting, and we end up fighting the election, and we end up fighting a war, and we end up fighting this and that, and we lengthen time, and we'll go through a third world war and maybe even a fourth one until we understand what's going on here.
We have to recognize first and foremost that we're interdependent. We're not, no one's going to go. We can't divorce each other. You can't divorce from humanity. We're interconnected on this globe, on planet Earth. There's nowhere to go. We're one thing on this little global village. It's going to become very small. Not physically, that the Earth will be smaller. In our consciousness, it's going to become smaller and smaller and smaller. We're going to see how every little thing that happens everywhere in the world affects everywhere else. We're going to see how, just like this pandemic that took the world by a storm, other things ecologically, economically, politically are going to show us that we are one thing. And yet we're opposite, we're different, we're hateful of each other. Good. We have this interdependence, we have this heightened egoism that separates us. Now, what do we do? And that's the point where we're going to have to rise to a new level of consciousness where the governing force of nature brings us together. And that's the only thing that can bring us together. There is this binding force of nature that we need to learn how to tap into, how to get in contact with.